Every single one of us makes decisions on how to deal with our past. Let me start off with a story. There were two brothers. They both had a father who was an alcoholic. One of the brothers became an alcoholic himself. The other never touched alcohol in his life. Later on, the same question was put forth to both of them. The one who was an alcoholic said, I became an alcoholic because my father was an alcoholic. The next one said, I never touched alcohol in my life because my father was an alcoholic. You see, the past in and of itself is not totally responsible for how we ended up. We choose to take what happened to us, what we were exposed to, what was done to us, and either deal with it or not deal with it, or deal with it in a wrong way. Either way, the past, what happened to us when we were younger, when we were adolescents, when we were children, we carry all that around. And that always comes up in relationships. Relationships make you deal with your past better than anything else. We always bring that stuff into relationships. We can hide it when we go to work. We can hide it when we go to school. We can hide it when we're around friends hanging out. But you cannot hide your weaknesses and idiosyncrasies and dysfunctions when you're in a relationship, because a relationship is all about action, reaction, and interchange. And those things are done out of our past. So once we're in a relationship and we realize we have some things to work on, we start to recognize destructive behavior or things we do that are really not good. They don't build anything, they actually destroy. People normally take three routes, okay? When you're faced with your issues and your behavior is telling on you, you either deny it, you justify it, or you place the blame somewhere else. What we should do is accept it, deal with it as long as we have to, and move on from it. And let's look at these three. Denial is simply acting like something is not there. And a lot of us do that. A lot of us know that there are some things in our past that kind of have us where we are now. And instead of owning up to it, we deny that it happened. We deny that it's there. We deny that we have issues in this area. Or we justify it. We point to our past and we use it as a crutch for our behavior. We say, well, I have a bad temper. I like to fight. I isolate myself. But you know what happened to me when I was a kid. So give me a pass. Feel sorry for me. Come sit here next to me while I have this episode of self-pity. Or we do something similar. We blame other people for what is really our responsibility. My father, my first marriage, my first wife, my younger brother, my siblings, the people at school that used to pick on me. It's not my fault. It's not my fault the way that I am. And since it's not my fault, I don't have to take responsibility for my behavior. If you're an adult, and if you want to ever have a meaningful relationship with anyone, you got to deal with this stuff. People will accept your excuses and your justifications just for a little while. After a while, your behavior, your terrible reactions, your habits are going to slowly eat away at any kind of relationship that you build, and it's going to tear it up. You're not going to have it anymore. And it's not because you're not a good person, but it's because you just won't deal with your issues. Let me say it again. Your past, how you deal with it, can make you better or keep you stuck where you are. You can go the route of the child that followed in his father's footsteps and then use that as an excuse. Or you can go the path of the child that looked at his father and let his father's footsteps be an example of what not to do. You see, we can't help what happened to us. We can't help the families that we were born into. We can't help the things that we were exposed to. But we can help how they shape us. The first thing you have to do is acknowledge that it happened. It is real. It's not your fault, but it happened. It's not your fault, but it really messed you up. It's not your fault, but it planted bad seeds in your heart, in your mind, in your personality. It's not your fault, but you still bear the responsibility of dealing with it. So number one, acknowledge that it happened. Number two, once you've acknowledged that it happened and you see where the root of certain behaviors and habits you have stem from, then you got to uproot it. And that's the hard part. That's not easy. That takes practice. That takes unlearning, relearning. That takes a lot of time and patience. And it's a process. But you don't want to get stuck in stubbornness, in self-pity, in being petty with people, in immaturity. You want to grow and progress. And there is no such thing as moving forward unless you've disentangled yourself from your past. Number three, once you are able to go through this process, and it may take a long time, it may put you through a lot of frustration, a lot of heartache, a lot of beat downs, a lot of falling down and getting back up. But once you can free yourself from the terrible things that happened to you in your past, walk away from it. That's very hard because it's easy to have a relapse and get back into those habits, those mental habits of reacting the same way, isolating yourself, fighting everybody, and any other bad thing that people do that ultimately pushes the people that love them away from them, that destroys relationships. Move away from it. Break the bond that you have from that event or from that person in your past that did this to you. And you know how you do that? Forgiveness. Forgiveness. Forgiveness is a choice. Healing is a process. People often say, well, forgiveness is a process. Forgiveness is not. Healing is a process, but forgiveness is a choice. There's no such thing as saying, well, I'll forgive you over time. No. It is a process. It is a process to heal, but forgiveness is a choice. Let me explain it to you. If someone owes you money and you forgive them the debt, once you decide to forget about the debt, it's gone. And that's how forgiveness is. You have a right to be angry, just like you have a right to collect that debt. But for whatever reason, you decide to give up your right and you let it go. Forgiveness is giving up your right to be angry and letting it go. Why do you have to let it go? If you don't let it go, it's not going to let you go. And for the rest of your life, you're going to be behaving and reacting out of what happened to you. And you're going to define yourself by your pain and your heartache. And you'll never be able to escape victimhood. Forgiveness is more for the person forgiving than the person that's been forgiven. So, you want to be in a functional relationship? You want to stop hitting the same obstacles and failing and falling? You want to be able to move ahead and progress and enjoy life on a different level? Acknowledge what happened. Deal with it. Don't be afraid of it. Embrace it. And then move on from it. Forgive and release yourself from that. You have a right to be angry. You have a right to be hurt. But is holding on to that right worth your peace of mind? And is it worth you being stuck in an inability to function in a relationship? I don't think so. Deal with your past, or your past is going to keep dealing with you. If you enjoyed our discussion today, you could read more about this and other related topics in my book, Building a Better You, Being Real, Letting Go, and Moving On. You can also follow me on Twitter, Facebook, or send me an email. Just click on the links in the description.